I got a doctorate in biostatistics with a focus on genetics. And from there, frankly, I ended up studying cancer because that was the job I was hired into here. But I'm incredibly happy that it worked out that way. It's a fascinating field and obviously super important. Cancer being a leading cause of death and morbidity in the United States and around the world. So it's good to feel like you're making a contribution in fighting that. And generally the people who work in the field are open, collaborative, super smart. It's been great. Great collaborators to work with here. These ongoing long cohort studies, been going for 30 years or more. As well, there's a really supportive environment for getting involved in large international collaborations. So that was, it was nice to have those doors open and to have that kind of work supported, because a lot of what we do in cancer epidemiology now can't be solved in any one study. No matter how big and good the study is, you need to collaborate with people around the world. Mostly I study inherited genetic variation and how that contributes to cancer risk. So as opposed to people who study the genetics of the tumor, sort of what happens in the tumor after you get cancer, I'm looking at, are you at high risk because you inherited a genetic variant from your parents? So the classic examples of that are BRCA1 and 2 in breast cancer, which thankfully are rare, but for the women who carry those alleles, they're at a very high lifetime risk of cancer. So I've studied BRCA1 and BRCA2 a little bit, and we're focusing, my lab is focusing more on those in the last few years. But largely what we've studied are sort of more common variants, so things that are 50% of the population are walking around with a copy of. So they don't fully determine your cancer risk. They increase your risk a little bit, but they've given us some clues into the underlying biology of cancer, and we can also use them to sort of stratify women into high versus low risk, and that might have ways of informing screening strategies. So when you start getting mammograms, you start at age 40. You come back every year, every 2 years. So if we had a better idea of what your risk is, we could give you better information in terms of tailor your strategy. I think the school has really strong ties with the hospitals here, including the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So there are tons of clinical collaborations that come out of that. Aside from breast cancer, I do a lot of work on pancreatic cancer, and that's largely with people at the Dana-Farber. But Boston generally, if you're interested in genetics, for example, or emerging biotechnologies, it's just a great place to be. There's so much going on in Boston. It's a really vibrant intellectual climate. And again, even beyond Harvard, people are very open and pretty easy to collaborate with. And there's lots of sharing of new ideas that happens, 4 months, 6 months before it sort of hits the journals. You sort of get a hot tip on what's going on.